Welcome, everyone, to our brand new podcast called Getting Deep with a PhD and a JD.
Hi, Kimmy. So, of course, I have a question for you.
No, I'm ready.
Okay. So, what question have we been asking since the dawn of time? And based on this question, the answer would fundamentally change how we view our universe and our place in it.
Yes. Is there life outside of Earth?
Yes.
That's the question.
That is the question. That is the question. And
So
today we are going to be talking about the question, is there life outside of planet Earth?
mhm.
And I love this question, Kimmy, because it's October, and so we were thinking about all kinds of spooky topics and what we could think about. And so let's
Yes.
talk about life outside of planet Earth.
And it's become a hot topic, after those congressional hearings that we had this summer, which is the first time, at least in my immediate memory, that a government official actually is talking about the existence of UFOs, or
Right.
what they call them now, UAPs.
Yep.
Unidentified aerial phenomena. Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
I wrote it. Yeah, it's unidentified aerial objects, I think. Or is it
No, it's got to be phenomena because it's UAPs.
UAP? Okay, yes, you're right.
hmm
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what's brought it to the forefront. And so I kind of want to start by backing up just a little bit, right? And talk about, what does life mean, and
Uh-huh.
what does it really mean in this context? You and I were just talking about this. There's life, and then there's intelligent life.
Right. Right.
And so, and the kind of perspective that I wanted to take on it is, when we talk about life, we talk about life in the context of our definitions of life,
Right. Right.
because we're talking about this vast universe, and we're applying all of our knowledge in our search and investigation into life on another planet, from a planet that could be billions of light years away.
Right.
And
Right.
it could be a totally different definition. It's almost too big for me to even wrap my mind around it.
Yeah.
But our definition of life could be very different from what is actually out there.
Right. It may not be carbon based. And
Mhm.
I was watching this one SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or I think,
I think
okay.
so.
I think
Yes.
that's
Search for
what it is.
extraterrestrial intelligence.
Intelligence,
Yes.
yes. So I was watching a couple of the podcasts, and one thing that they said was that we think about life in terms of what we know as life being on Earth, and life on Earth is governed by the physical realm. So we breathe oxygen. Um, and the thing is, if based on what the planet looks like, if there's life on another planet, it's going to be based on what the planet looks like. Like,
Right.
if
Right.
it's a planet that doesn't have light that's bright, then people may not have eyes.
Right. hmm
They may have a different way of communicating with each other. They
hmm
may be, if they don't have the same gravitational pull, if
hmm
they have a lot of gravity, they may be like flatter, or they may
Yeah.
be long, very long. So it's all
Yeah.
about the planet. And you know what? I even think that this searching for intelligent life
hmm
out there really impacts us now, because even when we think about like life on other planets and how life may look, we can also see a little bit of that on Earth, like how people look differently based on the regions that
Yeah.
that their ancestors evolved from, you know?
Right. And
And
a lot of it
so,
is based on the climate and the
uh-huh,
environment around them. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. So we can see the differences here on Earth.
right, right.
Um, and so you mentioned SETI, which I think it's good for us to provide some context, right? So SETI, as we already discussed, is the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And according to that organization, they are the only organization tasked with investigating, searching, researching whether there is life outside of Earth. Um, and so I think that's important to say.
Absolutely.
The and the organization was founded by these two folks. One of them, her name is Jill Tarter,
Oh,
and
yes.
what was the guy's name?
You know, was the
Let me
guy's
see.
last name, I
Oh, I
don't have
got
his
it. Let's
last name, but
see. Tom Pearson.
okay. And Jill
Yeah.
Tarter is actually the one that has done a lot of, if you go on like TED Talks, I believe she's the one who was on a TED Talk. And if you look on
hmm
YouTube, she's done a lot of the kind of question and answers. Is there life outside, you know? And
hmm hmm
you know what I think is really interesting, though, is that SETI used to be funded with government funds.
hmm
And so it's been around since 1960. And so it was funded through the government. But I didn't even know this.
I
In
didn't either.
1993, it did not, the legislators said, okay, we're
Yeah.
not going to fund it anymore.
Right.
So it is now funded by like private
hmm
donations. Um, so it's interesting to me that in 1993, um, that it stopped being funded because I remember, and I don't know if you recall this, I remember as a child, we were doing a lot with like the space shuttle, and it was a big
hmm
deal, and they were having launches,
hmm
and we would even use the different space shuttles as part of our class activities. And then all of a sudden, it just feels like it just stopped. Does
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
and
And I
so,
think I think in my research about that, the congressional action was based upon the fact that they hadn't found anything.
hmm
There was no real after, so you said it started in the 60s.
yeah.
So after 30 years, right, of funding this project or this organization, and they didn't have anything.
hmm
They didn't have anything in terms of scientific evidence and support
Right.
of intelligent life, because
Life.
that's
Yeah.
obviously what's important to us. I mean, the others, the biological life, right,
Uh
is,
huh.
yeah, I mean, that's always the start, right? But
Right.
that's a real slow progression. And
hmm
you know how we are here in the
We're
US.
like now,
Immediate. Yeah,
fast food,
we're,
fast everything,
yeah,
fast information. Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
spending all this money and you don't have anything yet. And that was the reason why, is because
Yeah.
they hadn't found any evidence of life outside of Earth, to be
But
honest.
in reading about SETI and reading about like how folks try to defend it, it's it's like we're saying there's such at that time even our universe was much smaller. And now that we have an understanding of like all these galaxies and all these other planets and these exoplanets, all these other things, it's huge. And
Yes,
30 years is, I
not
mean,
enough time.
in terms of looking for intelligent life, I mean, it is not even, I mean, it is such a minuscule amount of time. Like if we thought
Right.
of it as a day, it would be like a tenth of 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 a second, you know? So it's just such a small amount of time that we've spent looking for intelligent life. And the other thing that I think is interesting is that SETI says that one of the things that they're doing is they're listening
hmm
because they believe that based on our technology and based on potential technology that's out there, that would be out there, that the best way we could find intelligent life would be through our listening, through listening for the different um, waves, sound
Mhm.
waves, and different things that would go through the atmosphere, and things that can't we can't identify.
Mhm.
And it's a slow process. I mean, it's a
Because when you think about they've identified the fact that there are planets that are, like I said, billions of light years away.
yeah,
So you have to think
yeah,
about that in the context of the time it takes to locate any kind of evidence of any sort of life form. Once again, based upon our definition of life form
right.
in those other, planets or areas in our universe. And so you talk about the radio transmissions.
Hmm.
Yeah, so SETI identified that there are two different kinds of evidence that you can look for, which are, the biosignature,
Right.
which is what we talked about before. They're looking for liquid water and atmospheric oxygen
Hmm.
to support evidence of living organisms,
Yeah,
but not
yeah.
necessarily intelligent. And then you've got the techno signature, and I think with the advent of the techno signature, that kind of generated a new interest
Hmm.
in looking for life,
And
because this
looking
is a
for it.
new,
Yes.
once again, it takes time. So this is a
Yeah.
new research tool that they discovered, or I don't know if they discovered it or created it, whichever one, but
Right.
it's the presence of tool use or technology
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
life
Well,
out, areas
and
outside of Earth.
and I also want to remind all of our listeners that there's still things on Earth that we have questions about. Like, for example, um, we have questions. There's some things, some structures on Earth, and we have a lot of questions about, well, how did these things get built?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
Hmm.
thinking about, okay, at the technology of the time,
Hmm.
was how did that technology lead to certain structures being built? You
Like the
know,
pyramids, right? You're
like the
talking about.
pyramids, yeah, the
Hmm.
pyramids, and also
Stonehenge.
like Stonehenge.
Hmm.
There are all these different things, like how did people move all of these rocks? And so they're questions that we have. Now, I'm not saying that that aliens created these things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that we still have a lot of questions about things on Earth,
Hmm.
um, and
That we don't have answers
that
for.
we don't have answers to. But I think it's exciting, really thinking about beyond Earth and
Hmm.
beyond our solar system. I think it's exciting because I
It is.
think, and one of the things that Jill Tarter mentioned in one of her presentations was that the more we think about intelligent life outside of Earth, the more it helps us to understand that as humans, we have this connection with each other, because now we tend to think of each other based on racial group or ethnic group or state where someone
Nationality.
lives or
Hmm.
nationality. Yeah. But I mean, what would it mean to discover intelligent life and to think of ourselves as inhabitants of Earth or Earthlings?
Yeah.
How would that change our perception of ourselves and our connection to our fellow Earthlings?
Yeah, I think it would be a unifier, most definitely,
Uh huh.
because I think that we would all feel okay. If we discover life, what does that mean? What does that mean for our lives? What does that mean for our existence? Um, some of us feel that there could be negative consequences
Mm-hmm.
from discovering life outside of Earth, or that them discovering us,
Mm-hmm.
and what that could mean. Um, So it's an exciting thought, but it can also be a frightening thought
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
What would the consequences? What could
And,
they be?
and what if there's another culture somewhere and they saw Earthlings? I'm using Earthlings, and every time I say that, I'm laughing in my head because it sounds like we're in some horror movie. Earthlings,
I know,
some space,
exactly.
But
Uh,
what would people see, or what would they say if they saw us and saw our wars and our famine and
I know.
everything that is all the cruelty? Because it unfortunately sometimes it's easier to see the cruelty than it is to see the good things that people are doing. And
Hmm.
so I often wonder, what would a completely different um s- not species, but a completely different being,
Being, I like that word.
what would they think of us? Or, and here's the other question,
Hmm.
what if they have already identified us as beings and we're so technologically inferior that they
They don't want to
don't
be bothered.
they don't want to be bothered by us,
Yes.
you
And
know?
that was the other thing when I was reading about SETI and their loss of funding. And, the reason being that they hadn't found anything. And so,
Hmm.
they're like, well, one of the reasons is just that, our technology just hasn't caught up with the ability to search out and find this life outside of Earth. And then
Yeah.
the other reason could be that they don't want to be found
Right. Right. Right.
because they're not interested in interacting with us or we're not, there's no use, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they just want to continue living there. Look, I keep doing air quotes this episode,
Living.
living there, wherever they are, because they are so advanced. They're billions of light years. You have to consider that billions of light years away.
Because if they have traveled and gotten to us, they have to have the technology to be able to do that.
Exactly.
And in order to do that, you would have to be able to travel light years um
Mm-hmm.
at to a speed, because of, I mean, we don't know, like maybe they have a different lifespan, if
Mm-hmm.
if they're beings, maybe they have a different lifspan, or I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we just don't know, we just
Right.
don't know.
Yeah. So to me, that makes total sense. Which also leads me to, I was reading an article. I can't remember what the article, what the title of the article was or what. But one thing stood out to me in that, there's this ongoing conspiracy theory, that the government is keeping this massive secret from us.
Oh,
And the thing is, it's like, we criticize the government in every other way, but now all of a sudden we think the government is so competent, so sealed tight that they were able to keep this secret for such a long time,
yeah, yeah,
without any evidence being found or leaked or whatever. Now all of a sudden the government is so proficient in
yeah,
keeping this
keep it a
secret.
secret, and it's been going on.
Yeah.
And and that was something else that I was going to ask you, because a lot of people are out there that are saying, okay, the government is keeping this secret. And so my question is, okay, well, why would the government be keeping it? So one of I don't want to say hypotheses, I don't want to say theory, because those are research terms that have very specific meanings. So I'm going to say one of the thoughts is that people are not at a point where they're willing to hear um about the potential for life outside of Earth. And so, but I'm like, there's a part of me that says, or there's a part of me that would hope that if we do have these discoveries, that people would not intentionally be withholding them, because these discoveries can really fundamentally shift our knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm all about I'm all about knowledge, like figuring out new knowledge. And I know it can be scary and challenging. And I know that there are people out there that truly believe that Earth is Earth and that's it, you
Yeah.
know?
And that was the other thing. I saw another quote that said, how could we have such a vast universe and we're the only inhabitants? What a
Yeah,
waste of space. Like,
right.
it's literally like, what a waste of space.
Exactly. I
So,
saw that too. I think Carl
mhm.
Sagan. I think that was a Carl Sagan
Oh,
quote.
okay. I
Yeah.
think so. That does
Yeah.
sound familiar. Hmm. And I do believe that, yeah, it is sort of, or would be a sort of waste of space for
Hmm.
us to be the only intelligent life. And I
Right.
just really feel like the others, the others that are out there just aren't interested in us.
Yeah. Well, and
Because
the other thing,
there hasn't been any scientific evidence of UAPs. Because even when we were watching those congressional hearings,
uh-huh.
every picture was grainy. Every
Yeah.
whenever somebody says, okay, I saw a UFO or I've seen a UAP, the video somehow, we've got these megapixel cameras on
Right.
our phones,
Well, but
and
it's always
the
1960s
military
technology that, that
are great. It just
always.
it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tend to believe that there really hasn't been actual scientific evidence of it. I don't think that there is.
So I don't. I mean, my this is what my thought is. My thought is that I don't have evidence to say that life outside of Earth doesn't exist.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not saying that
Yeah.
I don't think that I'm not
So
saying
the
I think that
question
it
is,
doesn't exist.
do we have proof on Earth?
Right.
So you know, I think that's not really, for me, that's not really the question that I'm more concerned about. Is there the existence? I mean, there could be things on Earth that are in plain sight that we just don't know. You know, like I mentioned about the pyramids and things. I mean, there could be things, people could have visited the planet and, decided, hey, this is a crappy planet, and leave, left.
Right.
These
Hmm.
people, look, these people don't recycle. They don't care. They could have just said, okay, let's just go. But we just, like, so we just don't know that piece.
So it's
But
key to say there hasn't been any evidence of um, other living organisms on Earth or UAPs on Earth. There's no evidence of that, but not saying that there's no
right,
life outside of Earth. I'm not
exactly,
saying that,
exactly.
but just it's just not here.
Right, right, and we don't have any and we don't have any evidence to say that there aren't places where life exists outside. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Also, I think of it this way: if life evolved on Earth, and there are planets out there that we have identified that are similar, have similar chemical characteristics
Hmm.
to Earth. Um, why would we make the assumption that Earth is the only planet with life?
Right. Oh yeah, yeah,
You
of
know?
course. Hmm.
Yeah. So to me, I mean, just because we haven't found it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It means that we
Absolutely.
keep looking. I mean, it's that whole scientific method. We keep looking, we keep exploring,
Mhm.
um, we keep it. We don't just say there's no life out there.
Yeah.
Earth is it. Earth's the only
Yeah.
thing. We just don't know. We don't.
Yeah. So, what would be our uh, call to action with this topic? So, I would say my call to action would be to research established research facilities like NASA,
Yes.
like
Yes.
SETI, and get your information from those kinds of
Mm-hmm.
organizations, and and like you said, keeping an open mind in taking in that information.
Right. Right. And,
That's
and being a critical thinker,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
also this is very, very important because um, there are all these conspiracy theories out there. And one of the conspiracy theories is actually linked to aliens. It's about the alien reptilian people, that QAnon group was saying that certain people had this alien DNA, this reptilian DNA.
No.
There was a man who actually killed his children because he believed that his children had this alien reptilian DNA, and he did not want his children to have to live that way.
What?
Yeah, so there are people who believe these things so strongly that they're willing to engage in
Drastic behavior.
drastic behaviors. And so just, this is really a call for critical thinking. It's a call for really being open, and letting the investigative process work,
Exactly.
and realizing this isn't something that you're going to find out about tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
We
that
may
in my
never find out.
lifetime,
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
I'm
we may never
hoping,
find out in
I
our
would love it. I
lifetime.
would love to
Hmm.
find out in my lifetime.
Hmm.
But I also realized, because of the vastness of space, that, I mean, it could be another couple million years before there's contact.
I know.
Um, but
Hmm.
I would love to know the answer. I would love to know the answer.
Me too.
I
So I'm
would.
gonna
I
keep
would.
following SETI. I think we've been talking about good things throughout, but so what are your thoughts on what good can come from this topic?
Something that I started mentioning at the very beginning about thinking about what makes us human. What
Yeah.
makes us earthlings, what makes us beings that are on earth. And
Mhm.
thinking about how we're all connected, and if there is life, which I believe that we don't know that there isn't. So right now I'm leaning on the side there's probably life out there.
Mhm.
Then why are we fighting each other so much? Why is there so
Yeah.
much hatred and racism and homophobia and
Mhm.
transphobia and ableism?
Mhm.
Like, why aren't we working together? And this is another question, I think. Where would we be in our understanding if we utilized everybody's strengths instead of segmenting folks and stereotyping
Mhm.
and not allowing people to really grow and flourish?
And
Where would
flourish.
we
Yeah.
be? What knowledge would we have?
I think we would be much more advanced and
Yeah,
maybe that much closer to finding life outside of Earth,
the
to be
technology.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, because the
Because we've got
technology.
people
Yeah,
fighting about money, about this. And so, my tell me something good is the fact that I discovered that there are uh, organizations tasked with this, duty to research and find out what's going on.
right.
And because I didn't really know that existed because we never really heard about it from our
Yeah.
government. That that there was any sort of department that's you know actively researching this topic
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to reacting to citizenry and their
Yeah.
sightings and things like that, but
And the
actually task.
probes.
Yeah,
And the probes.
so to find out that there's this organization that once did have funding, they may get funding again. I also researched and found out that it's become a topic
Hmm.
of interest for NASA, and
Yes.
they
Yes.
have they're mobilizing small pockets of uh, um, intelligent folks to focus on this particular topic. So for me, that's the tell me something good that
Yeah.
we are starting to focus on that and really use our intelligence
Mm-hmm.
to responsibly, methodically, and scientifically research and
Yeah.
investigate.
And also, what is it? What is it called? I'm drawing a blank. The vehicle that's moving through space that's taking all of the pictures, the lovely, wonderful, amazing pictures,
You
and
talking about a
bringing.
satellite?
Yeah, there's different satellites and different things that were sent out that are now bringing back these amazing pictures.
Yeah.
And it
Mhm.
is just truly mind blowing. And so I think another tell me something good is that people are now being able to see just what these planets and what our galaxy looks like. And it's just mind blowing.
It is.
And the beauty. And you look and you're thinking, wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah, like how can that even be? It's almost like you can't wrap your mind around the
Yeah.
vastness of it.
And just all of the things that are different. When we were growing up, um there were 9 planets.
Yeah.
and you know
Uh-huh.
and we just knew about the 9 planets. We didn't really understand that the galaxy is just really here, and then it's so much more and so many other
Uh-huh.
galaxies. We didn't I
Yeah.
didn't learn that, and now
Mhm.
as an adult we're actually seeing these pictures. And
Isn't it like thousands of planets?
yeah,
Did I get that right? It's like
yeah,
thousands of planets now.
yeah.
Yeah.
And um and right now, and if I remember correctly, Pluto is still not considered a planet, right? I
Oh, it's
think
not?
that's true. I think it's not considered, because it was considered a planet when we were in
Yeah.
school. There were 9
Hmm.
planets. And then they decided that Pluto, because of it didn't fit the criteria of a planet. It was
Okay.
like they believed it was I believe I read that somebody thought it was a moon or something
Yeah,
from another planet.
something like that. Yeah,
So I believe that now the consensus is that it's still not a planet. And so that hurts me for Pluto. I'm hurt for Pluto. But
Justice for Pluto.
justice for Pluto. But it also shows that we're learning new things. And when we learn better, we need to do better. You know?
Exactly.
I had to that was a modification of Maya Angelou's one of her quotes.
Yeah.
When we learn better. So yes, that was poor grammar and it was intentional. So,
Yeah, exactly.
because her quote is, when you know better,
yeah,
you do better. Yeah.
So I think that's a good stopping point then.
Yeah, I think it's
Maya
excellent.
Angelou, that's a great stopping point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, the more you know.
The more
All
you
right.
know.
Well,
All
this was
right.
a fun conversation. I'm looking forward to the next couple of weeks. Let's see what it's October 15th. So we're probably going to do a couple of more sort of I don't even know if spooky is the right word.
Spooky. Ooh,
but
interesting things.
So for our October 25th show, we're definitely going to bring you something. And I wonder if we should you tell me if I'm asking too much. I wonder if we should dress up.
Oh, I was thinking about dressing up today, actually, and then I was like, oh, but we didn't talk about it. So yes, I think we should dress up.
Our next episode after this one will be on the 25th, and then after that it will be in November. So I think
we should dress up.
Okay,
I think we should dress up.
Okay. So all of our subscribers out there, hope you're as excited as we are to dress up for our next episode.
Yeah.
And so until then, like and subscribe and continue commenting on
Absolutely. Comments. We love comments. We definitely love comments.
Yes.
All right. Until next time.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.